Welcome to the Tiny House Ideas podcast.
I wanted to ask as well, I'll ask you this now before we sort of dive too deep into the specifics of the models and things, to ask about sort of your personal journey, I guess, because I'm aware that you sort of left the corporate world to start Kab'inn. So what was the sort of the process of you sort of taking that shift?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a very important question. And thank you for asking me because really Kab'inn is a result of a personal journey. And this personal journey is also something that I'm trying to convey through Kab'inn. It's a big part of it. So let me get back somehow 10 years in the past. I won't go into details in all the years, just to give you a bit what happened in my mind and my journey. But let's say 10 years ago, I was a 23 years old guy just coming out of business schools with an MBA in the pocket. At that time, the only things I wanted was career. I had very high career ambitions. I wanted money, success, everything like a guy going out of business school is willing to do. I was living at that time in France, in my home region where I studied, which is a beautiful region on the west coast of France, but pretty limited in terms of career development, the way I was seeing it, at least at that time. So I decided to leave. I got a job in Bulgaria, in Sofia, where I am now, actually in a French bank. And basically, in 4 years, I moved from project manager to head of marketing, then head of projects organization. Then I moved for 2 years in a very fast-growing IT company where I also got pretty high responsibilities very quickly. So all in all, in those 5, 6, 7 years, things were really going the way I expected. I mean, even faster, I was getting high responsibilities, managing big teams of people, having really good jobs, the way people could wish to have. So everything was going fine. And then at some point, I don't know exactly what happened. It was even kind of sudden. Like, I don't know if it's maturity or whatever, but I started to lose, meaning in what I was doing. By meaning, I mean that what I was doing was not changing my life, was not changing the life of anybody, was not actually having much impact on anything, and for sure not so positive impact. And so I started to have this in my mind, and I was wondering, okay, why I push myself so much? I was working a lot, I was being stressed under pressure. For me, it was part of the deal of doing this kind of career thing. But yeah, I started to lose this meaning, lose the motivation, and at some point, I just could not do it anymore. I mean, it was like I was not willing to go to work to do these things anymore. And at that time, I think I had a good decision to just take a break, not to keep on going until the burnout, but to take a break. At that time, I rented a cottage in the countryside in Italy, in a small village where there is nothing to do. And I mean, we have to understand that for me, it was a like drastic change, from
completely
overworking. Suddenly I was doing nothing. I was in middle of nowhere. And of course, I had plenty of time to start to think about, okay, what am I doing? What should I be doing? Is it what I want? What do I want? And these kind of things. And obviously, I decided that I cannot go back to the life I was living till now, and that I had to do something again with meaning. It was not so clear yet what was this meaning that I was looking for. But, there I had like nothing. I had good Italian coffee, good Italian wine, barbecue, and basically that's all I. Exactly all I needed. And this is what I realized. Okay, this is meaning. This is what I need. It's somehow stepping back, connecting back to the essentials, enjoying simple things. And it was in the opposite of the direction I was clearly taking. And when I was there, I found this concept, this American concept called Getaway. Most probably you know them. It's a kind of resort, let's say, of tiny houses, and which are exactly promoting this, which I was doing, for people from the big cities who are working a lot, just to step back for a weekend, spend some time in a tiny house, disconnect, leave the phone aside, enjoy the nature, do so-called forest bathing, and so on. So I was like, okay, this is me right now. And if those guys are doing this, I'm not the only one, obviously, in this situation, being quite young, 30 years old, and already questioning everything.
Yeah.
And for sure, there are other people like that. And this is where, okay, Kab'inn started to came into my mind. I came back to my work, and the first step I took was, okay, decided to build my own tiny house first, as a personal project for me to escape for the weekends, to still have my job, but at least being able, to take this time for me.
Yeah,
exactly. So I did this. This is when I met Christina from my own tiny house. And actually, when we built the design of my first tiny house, my first cabin, I loved it so much. And I said, okay, I cannot keep it only for me. I cannot have to promote it and
to share this. Yeah,
exactly. And Kab'inn started with this. And so the idea was, of course, to share the design of my house. I want people to see it, especially in all these social networks where people are sharing their own housing. And at the same time, I really wanted to talk to people like me, like, okay, don't do this kind of disconnecting and stepping back and connecting back to essentials too late. Really, if you are now in the middle of a career, maybe you still don't know, but you may need this at some point. So I wanted to offer this possibility for them to realize this and to step back, even if they, of course, keep on going in their career, at least to be able to have this connection sometimes. So this is basically the process I've been through and building Kab'inn. And now I'm pretty happy because Kab'inn is not my only project. I'm still having some things aside for a living, but because it takes some time. But at least I found the meaning I wanted into something which makes sense to me and hopefully will make sense to people like I was and like I am right now. So it's pretty important for me.
Thanks for watching this little teaser for the Tiny House Ideas podcast. If you'd like to listen to the full episode, it's available on all major streaming platforms. So that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all of the others. Alternatively, if you'd rather watch it sort of in a video format like this video has been, then that's available on Patreon. Just search for Tiny House Ideas. So thanks again for watching. Please do check out the full episode, and thanks again.